Hello, School Transportation Nation. Tony Corpin here. I want to welcome you to the podcast. It's brought to you by TransFinder, the leader in school bus routing software, Highland Electric Fleets, and Scraper Systems. We have a great interview coming up with Miss Taylor Akbatani. We were both at the recent NAPT conference in Columbus, Ohio, so we're going to be talking about that a little bit later in the episode, some of the new products. We were able to get an interview as well while we were on site with John Hennessey from Worcester Public Schools in Massachusetts. We'll also be talking with Finn Livingstone. He's the general manager at Scraper Systems, all about some winter weather that's coming your way and what you need to know about keeping your employees safe during this winter as you clean the tops of those buses. All right. Miss Taylor, want to welcome you. I feel like we saw each other the last many days in Columbus, Ohio, so it was wonderful. Lots going on. But you know what? What we were missing is our November issue. It came out this last week. Everybody is abuzz. The STN 2023 Transportation Director of the Year, Teresa Fleming. She is super pumped about winning this award. She's on the cover. There's a great kind of story that you were there for. You went to Philadelphia because Teresa's with the school district of Philadelphia. And you want to tell us a little bit, like, what was your experience interviewing her, meeting her team, boots on the ground? You flew out. Like, give us what happened out there, Taylor.
Yeah. Congratulations to Teresa, very deserving of this award. She's a wonderful person. I had a really great time with her. I was there for about 2 days. So I flew in, traveling to the East Coast is always a mess. So that's a whole travel day. I got myself a Philly cheesesteak though. So that was really exciting. Had to have that. But the next day was, spending the entire day with Teresa, it was incredible. I mean, they have their operations meeting, which I got to sit in for. So all the department heads within operations, they go into this meeting and they all kind of provide updates, and they do that once a week. And then once a month, which was also, while I was there, they recognize, someone within their department. So it was really cool. People are coming up, they're recognizing people who are retiring. So it just felt very intimate, even though it's a big school district like the school district of Philadelphia. So that was really special to me, to being able to witness that and be there for that. But oh my gosh, Tony, it was a full-filled day. I mean, if you look through the article and see the different pictures, there is Teresa with every probably significant landmark of Philly. We got the love sign. We got the Rocky statue, threw that one in.
That's a must-do, Taylor. You got to be at the Rocky style. I love the one where she's doing the heart on the steps overlooking the skyline. I feel like that is like an iconic Philadelphia shot there, like the true heart of a champion. Love the headline of that story too in the November issue.
And it was so felt, I don't know how to describe it, but this feeling of Philadelphia pride and the school district pride, like it's definitely a feeling that other people can feel around. And so I really wanted to embody that in the article and like really kind of lean on that love and proud spirit that Philly has. Because I mean, with their sporting events, I mean, they got the Eagles, they got the 76ers. They're a big, sport town also.
Yeah, no, Taylor, I definitely, when I talked to Teresa about it, I gave her a call as soon as the issue came out. She's like, Tony, I haven't got my issues yet. And I was like, don't worry, we FedExed you some copies. And, she's been handing it out. She since got it last week and handed it out inside the school district. She's like, oh, superintendent's got a copy. Her boss, Oz Hill, who was interviewed, there's a great picture of him. And he was just so complimentary of Teresa's leadership and, what she's brought to the school district and kind of her passion for really offering equal access education to everybody in Philadelphia. And really, the responsibility she has goes beyond just student transportation. It's all transportation for the entire district. So that's a big job that interim deputy chief, right, of transportation. Talk about a big role and a big hat to wear, and yet to stay so humble and just such a personal person. And gosh, I'm so excited to see her down at the TSD conference Conference coming up in Dallas, Frisco, November 15th through the 20th. We're going to have an opportunity to recognize her. I know a lot of her team from Philadelphia is coming to be a part of that, celebration of Teresa in the School District of Philadelphia. And, I'm sure the community of school transportation professionals is super pumped. And, we got that power panel of previous transportation directors. They're going to be on stage, and everybody's just, I think, going to show her a lot of love. So talk about leading with heart, getting a lot of love. It's very reciprocal, Taylor. I'm so excited for her.
Yeah, me too. She's very deserving, like I said, and it was just a wonderful experience to be there with her and her team. They were very welcoming and they took care of me. They showed me everything. So it was awesome.
Yeah, that's great. And guys, there were so many different supplier partners that put congratulatory ads into that November issue. We really want to thank them for supporting Teresa and the article and School District of Philadelphia. And, it's about partners, right? It's about people. It's about your team. But we can't do it without our supplier partners, right? These are important people in the ecosystem. And it's so nice to get love back and to feel appreciated. And that's really powerful, guys. And really want to give a big congrats to Teresa, School District of Philadelphia. And if you haven't checked out that November issue yet, it's up on stnonline.com. Go over to magazine. You can grab a peek at the digital version. The print version's in the mail. You may or may not have received it in your mailbox yet, but keep an eye out for it. We will be handing it out at the TSD conference in Dallas coming up in almost 1 week. It's so close, Taylor. We're gonna be there so soon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, Tony. The TSD conference is one of my favorites, so I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, bring you a message from Highland Electric Fleets. This message is brought to you by Highland Electric Fleets with a mission to make electric fleets accessible and affordable for all. Highland is the most experienced fleet electrification provider in the United States with more than 500 school buses under contract and 1 million miles on the road. Highland's turnkey solution makes upgrading to an electric fleet simple, affordable, and reliable. Highland plans, procures, implements, and optimizes your fleet for you so you can focus on what you do best. Experts in grant writing incentive programs, Highland has helped secure approximately $60 million in funding for their partners. To learn more, visit highlandfleets.com. That's highlandfleets.com. All right, we're back. Want to let you guys know we got some great interviews coming up. I'm going to be talking to Finn Livingstone. Winter weather is hitting Taylor and I. We're flying back from Columbus at NAPT, and Taylor's on a flight going through Chicago. I'm flying through Las Vegas, and I'm like, there is a massive snowstorm, Taylor, in Chicago right now. I think you might want to change flights, delayed. So yeah, luckily she was able to get home with me earlier than she even anticipated, which was nice. I know I got some calls last week. Some associates are like, we're in Michigan, we're getting crushed with snow. So that winter weather, you guys are going to start to feel the winter pinch coming. So I've been enjoying summer for so long. Southern California last week, Halloween, like 75 degrees. It was unseasonably warm. So I think we might be feeling Jack Frost there in a minute, right, Taylor?
Hopefully not. We'll hold on to the warm weather down here in California as long as we can. I was freezing in Columbus. I don't know. I'm not used to it anymore. I went to school in Wyoming, and I feel like I got that tough skin. People who are in the cold, they get that tough skin. I do not have it anymore. It was so cold. But hey, Tony, let's get to your interview with Finn and learn how to improve safety around the school bus in the winter.
All right, guys, want to welcome to the podcast Finn Livingstone, the general manager at Scraper Systems. Now, Scraper Systems, for you that don't know, is kind of the must-have product during the winter. And I'm going to let Finn talk a little bit about what they do and how it's going to help you guys become safer, more operationally efficient, and kind of really help your operation address maybe a bigger issue than you realize you have if you're in one of those cold weather, snowy states out there in the U.S. So, Finn, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Well, thank you for having me. Of course, this is a great opportunity just to make sure that our prospective customers out there and any of the various bus fleets that don't know about our product can learn a little bit more and learn how we can help them.
Excellent. We'll go ahead and dive in. What does Scraper Systems do, and how does it really help safety and efficiency of a fleet?
Yeah, we're a company that specializes in kind of a niche product. It's called a FleetPlow, or Scraper System is the brand, and it's a machine or a V-shaped plow that is lowered on the top of a bus or a van or any type of vehicle that fits under the machine. And then as the vehicle drives through, the snow is cleared off to the sides. Then you have a clear roof, and then you can go on your way.
Now I'm picturing the old school way, Finn, right? Like a driver trying to like brush this thing off with a broom, and a big pound of snow falls off and whacks them. And then there's an injury. And, school bus drivers, everybody's got so many of them these days. Like, you don't need them, right? No, absolutely. Driver shortage is a huge issue. Workman's comp, and I'm sure a driver doesn't like doing that. So in essence, you guys are addressing potentially a safety hazard for your staff in your fleets if they're manually doing this, right? Is that typically what you see out there?
Oh yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. If you are already clearing snow off of your buses with long-handled snow rakes, not only can this machine pay for itself in the time for labor or the time to get your buses back on the road, or fuel savings because snow is heavy and it can weigh thousands of pounds up on top of on the bus. But like you said, you're saving injuries from shoulder injuries to back injuries to slip and fall injuries. Most of our bus drivers out there are on the latter stage of life, and they're an older workforce. They don't have shoulders and backs and legs designed to be out there working in the cold and the snow and slippery conditions and overhead pulling weight down on top of them. So this is a good way to ensure that you don't have injuries, lost time, workman's comp claims. I talked to we were at a trade show in Columbus this week, and I talked to one bus company, both the transportation director and a driver, and they said that they had lots of injuries when it came to clearing snow from their buses from, like I said, shoulder injuries and back injuries. And they had drivers that didn't want to be out there and were looking for a workman's comp claim. And now this machine allows them to get it done with just a small crew. In just a couple hours, they can do 100 buses. And it really makes it much more efficient, much safer for their employees. And of course, it's safer for the vehicles and cars on the road.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And Finn's referring to the recent NAPT conference that happened the other week in Columbus, Ohio, which we were already starting to get some cold weather and flying home. Michigan friends there were saying, oh man, we're getting hit with tons of snow, and in Chicago, out in Illinois. So 'tis the season, Finn. We're starting to see more and more snow hit fleets. And guys, you don't want to be caught flat-footed with regards to this sort of issue. And if you haven't installed technology like this, it's very interesting. I've seen it displayed. They have videos on the Scraper Systems website. I think scrapersystems.com, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
And it's very interesting to see the visual representation of a bus driving through the FleetPlow and watching all the snow come up. It's like really fast, right? Like how fast you like creep through the machine, like visually, like watching it go through, it just knocks everything off.
That's right. Well, I mean, technically, the faster you go, the more snow will be cleared off the side. It actually works a little bit better. The other thing we want to mention that buses and vans that are out there for the pupils, they have stuff on the roof from hatches to antenna to strobe lights to GPS units to all kinds of things that you would say, well, what's going to happen to them? Well, our machines are designed with very stiff bristle brushes on the bottom of the plow that actually will safely go over top all those things that are sticking up on top of the roof and not cause damage, but it clears the snow and It really works well.
Excellent. So what is really like if someone was interested in having this deployed in their yard, what's kind of the footprint that this takes up? What's that look like? I mean, what are the common questions that you get, Finn, for a fleet that says, hey, I'm kind of interested in addressing this situation? Like, what's that kind of planning stage that you go through to put a fleet plow in your yard?
Right. Well, you want to just make sure that you have an area for the machine itself, and it's going to range anywhere from roughly 12 foot to 14 foot square to up to maybe 19 foot square for the machine, depending on the model that you choose. But you want to then have a straightaway that's twice the length of your longest bus, so that you can pull through the plow straight on the way through and on the way out. And then thirdly, you want to make sure that when the snow comes off the vehicle, that you have a logical place to plow it away. So when it lands on the ground, you want to then follow the bus. Depending on the amount of snow, you might want to do it every time. Follow the bus with a ground plow and push it off to the side. So that's the kind of things you want to think about. It also should be fairly level area for the machine to work properly.
How fast does it take for one bus to go through? What's about the average? Because if I've got a fleet of 50 buses, what's the time frame that I should be considering when I do that versus what it takes to do these buses manually? What kind of time savings are we talking about here?
It's dramatic time savings. The bus itself will get cleared in a matter of 10, 15 seconds. We usually tell fleets that if they have an efficient process where they're plowing the ground and they're getting the next bus ready each time, they can clear a bus a minute, or faster. So when you say you had 50 buses in a fleet, that would be less than an hour to get them all cleared and on their way, hopefully avoiding delays at school and things like that.
Excellent. So if somebody wants to find out more about Scraper Systems, where do they go?
Scrapersystems.com. That's SCRAPERSYSTEMS.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing a bit about how fleets can be a little safer and more operationally efficient this winter. Really great product. Looking forward to seeing you guys out there working hard this winter. So, Finn, thanks a bunch for coming out and being a part of the podcast. All right, we're back. Great conversation there with Finn. All right, Taylor, let's get into it a little bit. NAPT Conference, Columbus, Ohio. We're out there. You got there a little before I did. You got to sit in some of the sessions. I definitely heard some sessions were, really interesting. You want to kind of give us your highlights on that?
Yeah, it was really great. It was my first time at the NAPT conference, so I was really looking forward to it. Lots of, familiar faces, so it was great to see a lot of industry people as well. But there was a couple sessions that stood out to me. I really loved Dana Rosen's on trust, and it originally was kind of described as, being trustworthy and how that will lend itself to driver retention. And at the end of it, people were like raising their hand and like giving comment and feedback. And they were like, this is a leadership session. Like, this is telling you and your operation how you as a leader can become more trustworthy to your employees. I mean, she broke it down. She basically broke down the word trust, and each letter had a different meaning. And so going into detail on that, and it was fabulous, Tony. I mean, just to kind of like give you an example, like for T, it was truthfulness, right? So she was like, hey, have you ever lied to your employees? And everyone in the room was like, yeah, whether that's like, hey, it's going to be okay, or
that's real.
Yeah.
Like you're having a real conversation.
Yeah.
You need to have real conversations with people, right? It happens. We can't like live in denial here.
And that's what she was saying. She was like, look, people want to hear, look, I don't have the answer, as opposed to saying, oh yeah, or yeah, this will happen, and she noted that employees really want that transparency. So that was just kind of one example where she was really engaging with the audience and really talking them through, okay, this is what you need to do to be a more trustful employer.
Yeah, that's interesting, Taylor. I know at STN Expo a few years ago that we had a trust expert named David Horsager who developed this group called the Trust Institute. He had 8 pillars of trust. And, he talked from a leadership standpoint from a very high level, right? Never worked in school transportation, but he really brought kind of all his research and what it really meant to be trustworthy and develop trust and kind of a high performing culture. So really see the value of that. And it's nice to kind of take that and apply it at a more grassroots level where she's coming from Sci-Fair down in Houston, which is one of the largest school districts in Texas, and really displaying kind of the leadership that's there. And I mean, the leader that is there is Dr. Kane Smith, one of STN's Transportation Directors of the Year, right? Full circle on that. And Mr. Smith will be Dr. Smith. Get it right. He's going to be at the TSD conference there on our power panel, talking about this. So, going to be talking a little more about special needs, but I feel like trust is an important part of special needs as well, just because you're being handed children in the most vulnerable population, all this really great feedback. So it's awesome to see that somebody on his team is really articulating, and someone, I guess I don't know Dana. And I even asked, I said, hey, Sci-Fair was on the cover of STN magazine in September. I said, was Dana on the cover? And I was like, I don't think so, right? There's another person on the team there that is amazing. And I know we got to talking thinking, wow, we'd love to have Dana come to STN Expo and talk about this and bring this to our audience as well. I feel like there'd be an immense value to kind of unpack this topic at a more granular level. So really exciting. Any other sessions pop out to you too, Taylor?
Yeah. So I was sitting in on Molly McGee Hewitt's keynote session, and she was talking about leading from the center. Now, she's the executive director of the NAPT, so it was great to hear from her and have a whole, keynote presentation presented by her. But she leaned in on her doctoral research that looked at, different companies and what being a leader means. So she broke that down as well. So that was just really interesting, looking at successful organizations and determining what factors kind of contribute to success. And she kind of coined that the leading from the center.
Yeah, that's really interesting, Taylor. I feel like, school transportation is always challenged to be a leader, and there's so many different stakeholders in the organization. You're always being challenged. So having kind of strong leadership really guiding the way really is helpful. And these are things I think when we go to conferences, guys, we want to walk away with these nuggets, kind of these small moments that, hey, how can we be better leaders? How can we elevate the conversation? How can we challenge our staff, push them to be better? How can we do that? How can we also recognize them for the wins? Kind of like what you were talking about earlier, Taylor, where Teresa Fleming, they recognize staff members for wins, for outstanding performance and behavior. And I think that's all part of leadership. That's all part of recognizing greatness and really being passionate about who you are, what you do, clearly exemplified in the Transportation Director of the Year of all of our winners, right? And Teresa's just she's carrying the mantle, right? She's taking over from the previous winner, which was Jennifer Vobis, who was the Executive Director of Transportation in Clark County in Las Vegas. And she's going to be at the TSD conference as well. We got a great people that are going to be up there and share. And I really love that, Taylor. Really, really great takeaway from the conference. I know we both kind of tootled over the trade show, and there were some new products. I know on social media, I saw there was a company called Optimal EV, which you guys may or may not know, kind of more of an EV chassis developer. And they've looked like they've got a joint venture going with Thomas Built Buses, as well as TransTech Bus out of New York. So we saw some Type A school buses on those chassis displayed as new technology. And that was interesting. And also, Taylor, I think you ran by the Green Power booth, and the Green Power team had some new offerings as well. You want to kind of let us know what's going on with those?
Yeah, Tony. So I went by Green Power and they displayed their Mega Beast, which has 300 miles range on a single charge. And that's almost double from its Beast school bus, which, you know, the industry knows. So the Mega Beast was on display. And I mean, I was standing next to it and it was huge. I felt so small compared to this school bus. I mean, it looked like it was like a ton. But yeah, so 300 miles range, which is great, you know, for the school bus industry, being able to kind of offset that range anxiety a little bit. And I talked with Michael Perez before the trade show opened, and he kind of gave me, you know, a exclusive tour before the trade show opened. So that was really cool. You know, got to walk the school bus. There's AC inside, which is really nice. And that comes standard on all the Mega Beasts. So really great offering. It was great to see, you know, lots of school buses on the trade show floor.
How do they achieve double the range, Taylor?
They're using a 387 kilowatt battery pack. So he actually lifted up, you know, the underneath of the school bus, whatever that's called, the panels or something.
Oh, the luggage compartments? I think they have luggage compartments on that because that bus is so big. I think it has those, right?
Yeah. And you saw the batteries. I mean, they're huge. There was like 6 of them, I want to say, you know, stacked up on top of each other. So you saw them right when you opened it up.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation, Taylor. And then were there any other products you ran across at the trade show that jumped out to you?
Yeah. So actually outside the trade show, United Safety Corporation put on a demonstration for fire suppression system. That was really cool to see. They had a trailer set up in the back and they, you know, placed some gasoline on this. I'm not exactly sure what it was, some sort of, you know, frame or something inside the trailer. And you just see all this flames, fire, you know, coming from this object inside the trailer. And then all of a sudden within, you know, an instant, the fire suppression system goes off and the fire is out. I have a video of it. I sent it to our social media manager. So hopefully she's getting that up so you guys can see it. But it was really cool to see.
Yeah, that's great to see visual impressions of that. When you see safety demonstrations, yeah, United Safety, we definitely see that. Ken Hedgecock, who's the VP over there, I ran into him and he was really excited about that demonstration and really kind of the impact that it makes when people see that sort of thing happen. So yeah, guys, go to stnonline.com. Definitely let's try to get that video up so everybody can experience it and see it. But Taylor, love that reporting. And I know you were able to catch up with one of the winners. I think it was the Distinguished, what was the award?
Distinguished Service Award. Yeah.
Distinguished Service. That means probably you've been doing this a few years if you win Distinguished Service, right, Taylor?
Yeah, he's on 35 now and he's retiring at the end of this year. So John Hennessey was a great guy to catch up with. He had a lot of knowledge and kind of, you know, broke it down from that historical background of kind of his career. And I know he was reminiscing a little bit because bittersweet, you know, retirement's bittersweet.
Yeah. Well, before we dive into that interview, we got a message from TransFinder. Well, the votes are in and STN Expo attendees have spoken. TransFinder was overwhelmingly selected as the best software and best hardware for 2023 at STN Expo in Reno, Nevada. Yes, you heard that right. For the first time ever, TransFinder received the Innovation Choice Award for best hardware. And for the second year in a row, TransFinder has won the best software award, adding to numerous past awards TransFinder has won for its software products. TransFinder's move into hardware was driven by client demand. TransFinder now provides the tablet, the mounts, the card reader, and more as part of its one partner, one solution approach. Guys, you can learn more by visiting transfinder.com or calling them at 800-373-3609 or email them at getplus@transfinder.com. Make sure you put STN Podcast in the subject line.
All right, guys. So Taylor Ekbatani here. We are live at the NAPT Conference. We are sitting in a hotel lobby, so I apologize if the sound sounds a little wonky, but we are making the best with what we got right now. I am here with a very special guest. I have John Hennessey. He's the Director of Transportation. I'm going to try and get this right. We were practicing for like 5 minutes before this went live. Worcester Public Schools.
Worcester Public Schools. Yes.
It's pretty close.
Pretty close. Pretty close. Good job.
In Massachusetts.
Yes.
So welcome, John. Great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So we're at the NAPT conference, and you said that you've been here a couple times to this conference. Obviously, they took a break with COVID, but how are things been going for you this week?
It's been an excellent conference this year. I've actually already taken 4 courses, and every one of those has been absolutely excellent. They've been jam-packed with folks. There's been some good exchange of information. There's been some good teaching of information. We've enjoyed it very, very much. Got to meet all sorts of people from all around the country and outside of the country, too.
Yeah. And something special about this year is you actually won the Distinguished Service Award. So talk to me a little bit about that. Were you surprised? What was kind of your reaction?
I was very, very much surprised and pleasantly surprised when I received an email from NAPT, a congratulations email saying congratulations that I had been named the award winner for the Distinguished Service Award for this year. I feel very honored by that. When you take into account the number of school transportation professionals from around the country, number one, just to be nominated. So I thank however and whoever had nominated me, but just for the committee to agree and that I was worthy of that. And I take it that it was a tremendous individual award. But it definitely was not an individual accomplishment. We just have such a team of folks that have worked hard on what we're doing, and nobody can do it alone. No 2 people can do it. So it's been a tremendous accomplishment for us in Worcester to take in-house all of our transportation. And also just to work with the people we get to work with every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. And I know there was a couple of different awardees throughout this conference. So I feel honored that I get to sit here and speak with you. But you're also retiring at the end of this year.
I am. I've had about just over 35 and a half years in school transportation to this point. I've been in Worcester for 23 and a half years of those years, and in the city of Lowell, Massachusetts for 12 years before that. I don't regret a single moment of any of it. It's been enjoyable. It's been challenging. It's been rewarding. And just to know that over the time, there's been a lot of busy times, a lot of challenging times, the day-to-day crises that you come across. Literally no 2 days have ever been the same. And just to know that we are a little part of getting kids to school and helping them learn and solving issues. And it's not just the students we transport, the children, it's the whole families. Families build their whole mornings around what time is the bus coming in the morning? What time do we have to get up? What time do we have to do this? What time do we have to do that? What time can I get you to the bus and get out to work? Mm-hmm. And things of that nature. So we directly affect so many more people indirectly. That it's very important that we do what we're supposed to do, when we're supposed to do it, and how we're supposed to do it.
Mm-hmm. And you got into pupil transportation. You were working with a transit agency, correct? And then you kind of noticed that there was some inefficiencies at the school district nearby.
Yes. It was while I was working in Lowell. I worked for the management company under contract to the Lowell Regional Transit Authority in Massachusetts when the transit authorities were created in the late 1970s, 1976 to be specific. The Transit Authority was the quasi-governmental agency, and they, by statute, had to have a management company to operate. I was part of that management company. I started as a part-time driver while I was going to school, started in the summer, and it turned into a full-time gig over the years. We expanded service. I got a little bit of expanded responsibilities. I went from a driver to becoming a downtown starter. I was the instructor for a while, helped people get their licenses, and turned into the operations supervisor. And what ended up happening in 1987, the city of Lowell went to a controlled choice desegregation program. and the transportation department in the school department only consisted of 2 clerks who were great at what they did, but primarily up till that point, they had to answer telephones, answer questions, and things of that nature. Nothing of the scope of what was regarded. At the same time, the school district was just instituting a school bus routing system, and it was under Roger Creighton Associates, who was the precursor of what is now Versatrans. It was the SBRS routing system, and they had some folks on site assisting with the district. They knew the program obviously in and out, but they did not know the idiosyncrasies of the city and the proximities of what was what. And to compound that yet further, there was a new bus company that was taking over the transportation. And there was a little bit of back and forth as to how many routes do you need, well, how many buses do you have, and a little back and forth there. So finally, somebody said, well, okay, we've got this many buses, and they built that many routes. Turned out it wasn't the right number because they didn't have the right number of drivers for that. It created some chaos. Unfortunately, the children and families were the ones that suffered for that. Buses were late getting to school. They were late getting picked up from school, sometimes as late as 7 o'clock at night. And it was just a disaster at the time. And as the transit professionals in the city, the city folks, administration folks, were meeting on a regular basis, and they ultimately invited the administrator of the transit authority and my boss, the general manager at Low Law Transit, to a meeting, and they volunteered my services if I was willing to actually to do that. And I said, absolutely, whatever we can do, because it was hard not to miss what was going on. It was in the newspapers every day, every night, and things of that nature. I went on loan to the school department for a period of time to try to help sort out things the best that I could. Worked closely with, it was Brant Gardner at the time, who was with Creighton Associates. And we did very well. We were able to clean up a few things here and there. It was a challenge. I was supposed to be there for 2 weeks. 2 weeks turned into an extension into 3 weeks. And the next thing you know, it turned into an extension of 4 weeks, and at which time I ultimately had to go back and do my own job. So it worked out well. There was all sorts of stories on that. We made regular reports to the school committee, and the gallery was packed for each particular meeting because it just wasn't working, and folks wanted to know what had to be done to make it work. We had some routes, and we spread them out. I spread them out over the floor of my living room for the afternoon routes, and put them together into an order that things would work a little bit better. I wasn't quite familiar with the program at that time. I was still learning that, but Brent was doing a good job keeping us up with that. We had some major issues with timing to get things out to folks. It was just a put it together crazy kind of thing. Took the route sheets and were driving, pushing arrows from one to the next. Do this stop first, then this one, because they were so far out of order until we could get it better in order. And I guess one of the best stories of all was when that was done, brought them back to the school department, made photocopies of that, and there was actually a police cruiser parked outside the school department to take those route sheets and drive them to the bus company and deliver them to the bus company so the drivers could be handed a route as they were driving out the gate for their afternoon trips. That's how close we cut it, and it went very, very well. What they also ended up doing to help backfill some of the drivers, the contractor at the time happened to be National School Bus Service, and they were headquartered out of Buffalo, New York. What they did was they called upon volunteers from their headquarters in New York who would come to Worcester during the school week, drive school buses, and then go home for the weekends and come back again on Monday. The complicating factor there was licensing. So the mayor at the time of the city of Worcester He was also a governor's counselor at the time, and he made some arrangements for the Registry of Motor Vehicles to work with those drivers to let them become properly licensed in Massachusetts so they could drive in Massachusetts. The next problem after that was they didn't know where they were going within the city. So school administrators from around the city would ride on the school buses with those drivers and be their navigator, essentially telling them where they were, where the next street was, where the next corner was. So it all worked out. I ended up having to leave over a period of time back to my own job. They did advertise the position. I did apply and was fortunately the successful candidate. And I actually started in school transportation on March 15th of 1988.
Wow. So 2 weeks actually became 35 years?
It did. So that first 2, 3, 4 weeks doesn't even count towards the 35 and a half. That was bonus time.
It should. Wow. It seems like you've such a history, in school transportation, and just you've gone through a lot of different aspects of it. So looking back and now looking forward, what has been some of the biggest changes that you've noticed throughout your career?
I think that the most important thing is what hasn't changed. It's an old type of a business, and it's still an old type of a business. You still have to put a bus on the road, a driver behind the wheel, and you go to a corner, and there's kids going to be waiting there to get picked up to go to school. How you communicate that has changed significantly. There's been so much more technology. The school bus is still yellow. School bus is still big. And the biggest changes have been outside of what you do. It's just the extra tools that you have to do it with now.
Mm-hmm. That was a good answer. I like that. You did a 180 on me.
Sorry.
So I know one of the things that we were talking about earlier was electric school buses, and you guys just applied for, I think you said 15?
We did, yes. Under the new EPA grant that is waiting to be awarded, hopefully sometime during the month of November, we have an application in for 15 electric school buses. So I guess if you're going to talk about progress, the alternative fuels are a huge thing. Mm-hmm. And we're going to give it a chance and see what's what there. We've done a lot of background work already to do that, and we're ready to go. Mm-hmm.
How does Massachusetts look? I don't know if you can answer this, just in terms of electric adoption.
There's not a lot. Mm-hmm. There's several. The city of Beverly actually has quite a few electric school buses right now. I don't know if they're 100% electric right now, but they do have a significant number of electric there. The cities of New Bedford and Fall River have a couple apiece. I believe they have both applied again under this next grant to try and get some more. And there's a few others, but I'm not sure exactly where within Massachusetts.
Okay. So a little bit kind of around, but not a huge adoption.
Not yet.
Okay.
But if we're successful and these other ones are successful this next time, we're going to have a nice little representation and a little toe in the water.
Yeah. And I know another thing that you guys recently did was you took your transportation in-house.
We did. We're very proud of that in Worcester. And we took a lot of time to do some preparation. We were commissioned by the school committee to take a look at, number one, can we do it? Number two, how do we do it? What are the implications of it? What are the costs for it? What's the cost benefits? And operationally, as well as financially. We took a couple of years to do that. We had a great team there. Our Chief Financial and Operations Officer, Brian Allen, who's now added the title of Deputy Superintendent. Our Assistant Transportation Director, Michael Freeman. Our Budget Director, Sarah Consalvo. And our currently retired Materials Requisition Director of Deb Seymour. We met very regularly, and we had to figure out, what do we know, what don't we know? How do we approach this? How do we make a valid, fair comparison so that if the question comes up about what are the costs, we had a reasonable knowledge or I don't even want to use the word guess, but approximation of what a vendor's costs are going to be. We had to project what our costs will be. There's some things that we just didn't know. So when we estimated, we tried to estimate high so that if in fact the question came up that we did not do a valid comparison because of a private contractor has to worry about this, we would at least acknowledge that was a cost that they had to worry about. And there are some differences within private and public that just nuances that are a little bit different. So we needed to do an apples to apples and an orange to orange comparison, which we did. And we presented that to the school committee. And the projection was that we could do it for approximately $3.5 million less than it was costing us to contract out.
Wow.
A lot of that is the fact that we don't need to make a profit. We don't have to answer to shareholders on the stock exchange somewhere. Our shareholders ride the bus and are in the homes around the city every day. So we were able to invest in customer service enhancements, additional phone people, additional dispatchers so that we could respond to people, additional trainers, additional supervision, some road supervision, some trainings. We have routers. So we've tried to gear everything towards how can we give the better service and the best service that our children deserve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's wonderful. That's a really great savings.
It is. And it's been invested back in. So it's not like it's gone into somebody's pocket. It's a reallocation to something that is positive for the children in the schools.
Mm-hmm. So wrapping everything up, John, I know you're heading down south to Florida. You're looking at the Sunshine State. But what is your last kind of advice or recommendation to some new people coming into the industry?
If you're coming into it, you know what you're getting into. And you're going to work hard. You're going to work long. And you're going to love it. You're going to sacrifice some things. There's no question that and it's anybody in education. You miss out on a few things. You don't get to see your kid's first day in school. You're never going to get to see that. You're going to miss a few things here and there. So when you can do things with your family, take that time, but give your full dedication and just know why you get into it in the first place. And ultimately, you're doing everybody a service. You're helping. You're a part of it. Everybody says, and everybody with the industry knows that you're the first person the child sees to represent the school department in the morning and your last one in the afternoon. We all know that, and we're more than willing to share that with each other. But to make sure that everybody else outside understands that we get it with that, and that we affect kids' lives every day, and a smile goes a long, long way.
Yeah, I know that a theme being here is defining your why, and I think right there in that advice, you defined your why of why you've been in the industry for so long. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
A special thanks to John Hennessey and Taylor Ekbatani for jumping on the episode with me today. Really great conversation, Taylor. We're pumped for the TSD conference as well, November 15th through the 20th. Can't wait to see everybody there in Dallas, Frisco, Texas in about a week. So much fun. Want to thank our sponsors of the episode today. That's TransFinder, Highland Electric Fleets, and Scraper Systems. Appreciate Finn Livingstone for coming on too, talking about winter weather and how we can address safety around the school bus. Really helpful tips there, guys, to take away with. Remember, November issue, stnonline.com. Go read it if you haven't seen it. Incredible issue, guys. So much great information. We have many articles in there that are really going to help you elevate your operation, become safer, become better leaders. We want to help be a resource to you for all those things. So thank you so much for being a part of this podcast, listening to it, Nation. We can't wait to talk to you next week. We love you. We'll see you.